People think the safari experience is all about going to the wild and seeing some animals. There's a lot more to it. There's a lot more theater. There's a lot more culture associated with going to safari. And when you participate in a safari experience, you're participating in the culture. There is a book I read, Kikuyu District. These are letters by Hall to his father, based in Kenya. He had just arrived in Kenya around the start of the 1900s. And this is when the safari experience was at its truest form. And at the core of their safari experiences was lighting a campfire in the evening. After a long day of trekking, after a long day of hunting, they would light fires and sit around them and exchange stories. That part of the safari experience might have changed. There is no hunting. There is no trekking through the wildlands. That part is gone. But the fire is still there. The bonfire, sitting around a bonfire in the evening after a whole day of game drives. That part of the original safari experience is still there, and that is why I lit a fire to tell you these stories. The stories of how I went to Mara, the story of how I visited 4 camps in 3 days. 3 days that I participated in the safari experience. And I hope through sharing this story with all this effort might give you a sense of what safari experience is all about.
First, I'd like to appreciate Saruni Basecamp for hiring me for this project. They were a great team to work with. Garishan and team, thank you for trusting me with this opportunity. If you are going on safari or considering a safari services provider, I would strongly recommend Saruni Basecamp. And now on to the video. My very first stop at the Mara trip was Saruni Mara. We arrived at the facility late in the evening after an overland trip from Nairobi. I was eager to explore the facility, but I had to wait until the next day. I learned that Saruni Mara is one of the few small luxury lodges with 5 cottages, 1 family villa and 1 private villa. After an early morning photographing the team at the lodge, I had time to explore one of the cottages at the lodge. I enjoyed the astronomy-themed cottage. Maybe someday I'll get a chance to spend a night at the cottage and observe the moon from the vintage telescope they have for guests. Another highlight for me at the lodge was the small library. Part of going on safari is spending time in quiet contemplation, which would include reading books. I would spend hours at the Saruni Mara small library. I miss the views of the hills at the lodge's main deck, the quietness of the environment, and the warm hospitality from the team at Saruni Mara. My second stop on the trip was Eagle View Safari Camp. My excitement about my stay at the camp started from the drive towards the camp. Since where the camp is located overlooks the Koyaki escarpment, one could see the tops of the tents from a distance if they have a keen eye. My stay at Eagle View was short. I did get to experience the campfire, which was located on the main deck overlooking the salt licks that various animals get to trek to during the day. Though a little windy, the tent I slept in was cozy and comfortable, an experience I would highly recommend. The dining experience at the camp was also pleasant. The staff were amongst the friendliest during my stay amongst the camps. One thing that stood out for me from the stay were the clever use of elephant dung to pave the paths around the camp, something I haven't seen before, and leans towards the camp's eco status, recognized by National Geographic as one of the top 5 eco lodges in the world. My third stop was Leopard Hill Camp. I first learned of Leopard Hill Camp when I was doing graphics design work on a previous assignment. You can imagine my delight when I got to visit a place I had made posters for a few years earlier. One thing that stood out for me at Leopard Hill was the mix of modernity and wilderness. Arguably, it's the camp I spent the most time by myself. I found myself lost in the safari experience, even going against the camp's rules and wandering further than it was allowed to trek without a guide. After falling for the temptation to photograph some giraffes and zebras that graze near the camp. The staff at the camp were exceptionally friendly. Despite me isolating myself, I did not feel alone, with the staff checking up on me as often as they could. The rooms at the camp offer a unique experience. I had imagined how sleeping in a tent with a retractable roof would feel like. It felt like resting in the wilderness, watching the stars cross the night sky. If you are looking for an experience of untamed wilderness with comforts of modernity, Leopard Hill Camp is the camp for you. The campfire there was cozy and comfortable. My last stop was Mara Base Camp, not as wild as isolated as the other camps I visited, but if its campfire location is anything to go by, it's the camp with the most heritage and connection to the original safari experience. A fun fact, it's the camp that Obama stayed in during his visit in Kenya while he was still a senator. You can even see the trees he and his family planted during their visit at the camp. It's also at base camp that I met a couple who were visiting from America, and it was a joy sharing our enthusiasm for the safari experience. And to their friends, we really were chased down by an angry buffalo. I don't know what would have happened if it was not for the swift action by our guide and driver. You choose to stay at Mara Base Camp if you are looking to have a great food and get to interact with lots of people passionate about the safari experience and culture. There isn't enough time on this video to go on and on about the Mara Base Camp, so we'll end that section of the story here. Also, that was my last stop of my Mara trip. My trip back to Nairobi was uneventful, save for almost losing my tripod at Narok when I forgot it in the Pro Box that got me from Talek to Narok. That will be a story for another day. For now, it's goodbye from me, Stanley Nje here, your indigenous safari enthusiast. Bye for now, see you on the next safari adventure.